I'm not proud of what I'm about to tell you, but I'll tell it anyway because some nights still haunt me. It happened on a Thursday. Not that the day matters, but I remember because the house was quieter than usual. You know, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's judging you. I had just finished a glass of red wine. Alone, of course. My husband Tunde was in Johannesburg that week. Some conference or meeting I don't even know anymore. We'd only been married for 6 months, but to be honest, it already felt like I was single again. Tunde and I lived in separate cities most of the time. He was chasing contracts, I was running my fashion brand. It was one of those marriages built on business and convenience, more photos for social media than real touch and time. The only person who saw the real me was the man who drove me everywhere, Daniel. Daniel had been our driver for about 2 years. He was quiet, respectful, the kind of man who never looked you in the eye too long. But there was something about him I couldn't ignore. Maybe it was the way he noticed little things, like when I was having a bad day, or how he never said too much but always said enough. That night, it was my birthday. Nobody remembered, not even my husband. I had told myself I didn't care, but deep down, it stung. Then, around 8 p.m., Daniel knocked on the front door. I remember I was in my robe, silk, wine-colored. I thought he came to say goodnight or maybe ask if I needed anything. But instead, he held out a small box. I was confused. What's this? He looked straight at me. Happy birthday, Ma. I didn't know what to say. Inside was a silver bracelet. Nothing fancy, just a small heart charm. But somehow it felt more thoughtful than all the designer bags and expensive shoes my husband had ever sent. Thank you, I whispered. I hope I didn't overstep, he said, voice soft. I just wanted you to know. Someone remembered. I should have closed the door, but I didn't. Do you want to sit? I asked. Why did I ask that? I don't know. Maybe I was tired of feeling invisible. Maybe I just wanted company. Or maybe I already knew where the night was going and part of me wanted it to happen. He sat on the edge of the couch, awkward but calm. Then he said it, I know you're my boss, Ma, but I can't lie anymore. I have feelings for you. I laughed at first, nervously. Daniel, this is inappropriate. I know, he said, but it's true. I looked at him. For the first time, I really looked at him, not as a worker, not as a driver, but as a man. Strong shoulders, calm eyes, hands that had always opened my car door like I was royalty. You shouldn't say these things, I told him. I know, I've kept quiet for too long, but every time I see you sitting alone at the back of the car pretending you're okay, I wish I could do more. My heart was racing. My robe felt suddenly too thin, the room too warm. Then he reached out, slow and careful, and touched my hand. And I didn't pull away. We stared at each other for what felt like forever. Then he leaned in. I could have stopped him. I didn't. The kiss was soft, hesitant, like he was asking permission with his lips. And I gave it. When it ended, I should have stood up, should have told him to leave. But instead, I whispered, do you want to stay a little longer? He nodded. And that's when the line was truly crossed. What happened next? It didn't feel wrong in the moment. His hands were warm and gentle. He didn't rush anything. It wasn't just about the act. It was about attention. Real, focused attention I hadn't felt in months. He undressed me like he was unwrapping something fragile. And when he kissed my neck, my shoulder, my waist, I closed my eyes and let go. I forgot I was a married woman. Forgot I was his boss. In that moment, I was just a woman who wanted to feel something again. Our clothes fell to the floor like secrets. And the secrets kept piling. He made love to me like I mattered. Like I wasn't just some trophy wife or businesswoman in a glass house. He touched me like I was real. And for a few hours, I believed I was. I woke up before him. The sun was just creeping in through the curtains, lighting up the living room in soft gold. Daniel was still asleep on the couch, shirtless, his chest rising and falling so calmly, as if nothing had happened. But everything had happened. I sat there in silence for a while, staring at the bracelet still wrapped around my wrist. My head was pounding, not from the wine, from the weight of the guilt. What had I done? This wasn't some random fling, this was my driver. A man who worked for my family. A man who looked me in the eye every morning and called me Ma. I wanted to wake him up and say, let's forget this ever happened. But the truth? A part of me didn't want to forget. When he finally stirred, he looked at me, not with regret, but with a softness that made everything harder. Good morning, he said. I just nodded. He got dressed quietly. We didn't speak much, not until he reached the door and said, I'm sorry if I've ruined anything. I wanted to say yes, but I couldn't, because if I was being honest with myself, it didn't feel ruined. It felt like the only thing that had been real in a very long time. The next few days were awkward. I avoided him, took cabs, stayed in bed longer than usual. My friends noticed, but I blamed it on work stress. Every time I heard Daniel's voice or saw his reflection in the mirror as I passed, my stomach twisted. But worse than the guilt was the craving. Not for the physical part, though, yes, there was that, but for the attention, the way he looked at me like I was someone worth noticing. Tunde finally called that weekend, just to ask if I'd sent a contract to his lawyer. No, I miss you, no happy belated birthday. I stared at my phone after that call and I just broke. The tears came suddenly. Not loud, just soft and steady, like rain on the window. I wasn't crying because of Daniel. I was crying because I finally admitted how lonely I'd been, how empty this beautiful life of mine had become. And Daniel, he wasn't the problem, he was just the one who noticed. Yes, it happened again. One night, a week later, I asked him to drive me to the studio. It was late, almost 10 p.m. But I made up a reason, a photo shoot that didn't exist. On the way, we didn't speak much, just soft music in the car. My heart was pounding the whole time. When we pulled up outside the empty building, I didn't get out. I just sat there, waiting. He turned to me, eyes searching. You don't really have work here, do you? He asked. I shook my head slowly. No. Then I said it. Come to the back seat. He hesitated, just for a second, but then he did, quietly, carefully. And this time there was no shyness, no hesitation, just heat. I shouldn't have done it, I know, but in that moment I felt wanted, desired. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in so long. After that night, something changed between us. We didn't talk about it. We never said the word relationship. We just carried on like nothing happened. But everything had changed. He still opened my car door, still called me Ma in front of others. But behind closed doors, he called me Sonia. He started texting me, checking in on my mood, asking if I'd eaten, sending me songs he thought I'd like. And I found myself waiting for those messages, smiling at my phone like a teenager. But the guilt stayed too, lurking. This wasn't love. Was it, or was it just comfort? I told myself I could end it any time, that I was still in control. I was wrong. I should have known we were playing with fire. One afternoon, Tunde showed up, unannounced. He said he missed me, that he was tired of hotels and wanted to reconnect. I forced a smile, cooked him his favorite meal, even wore his favorite perfume. But my body felt stiff. My mind kept flashing back to Daniel, the way he touched me, the way he looked into my eyes like he saw me. Tunde barely noticed. He was on his phone half the evening. The next morning as he was leaving, he paused by the door and asked, Has Daniel been behaving? I froze. Why? I asked casually. He shrugged. He's too quiet. Those ones are the most dangerous. I laughed nervously and changed the subject. But that stayed with me. Because deep down, I knew Tunde was right. Daniel was dangerous, not because he was violent, but because he made me feel seen. And when a woman hasn't been seen in a long time, the first person who truly looks at her, that man owns her heart, even if just for a moment. I ended it, not with a dramatic speech, not with tears, just a quiet message. I can't do this anymore. He didn't reply for a full day. Then he texted, I understand. That broke me. Because in some twisted way, I think he really loved me, or thought he did. And a part of me, I'll admit it, I cared about him too. Maybe not love, but care. Deep, genuine care. For weeks after, I kept expecting him to say something, knock on my door, ask me to change my mind. But he didn't. He just went back to being Daniel, my driver, silent, respectful, just like before, only now there was a sadness in his eyes, a heaviness in the air whenever we sat in that car together. Like a love that never had a chance to live outside the shop. Part 12, My Truth. It's been almost a year now. Daniel left last month, got a better offer with some businessman on the island. I let him go without a fight. I even wrote him a glowing reference. Tunde and I, we still pretend. Big house, empty smiles, business trips and dinner parties. But when I sit alone in my room at night, I think about that bracelet. I still have it, hidden in my drawer. It's not the value of the gift, it's what it represented. A small moment in time when someone saw me. Not as a wife, not as a boss, just as a woman.